Hi everyone, my name's Max Peterson. I'm the CEO of Smith & Sons Remodeling Experts, and welcome to the Smith & Sons podcast. Today I'm joined by one of our general contractors, Alex. Good to have you along, man.
Hello, how's it going?
It's going good. Today we're going to, obviously we're going to cover off a bunch of subjects, and really it's focused around helping homeowners on a bunch of levels. We've been in the game for long enough to sort of see a lot of the different sort of ebbs and flows and some of the challenges that homeowners face. And so we want to bring to the table some insight and some information and some things that may be helpful to homeowners as they contemplate renovations and or any kind of project for that matter, whether it's a custom home. And so today we're going to kick off with which we're going to talk about HGTV. HGTV is Hollywood. It is not a price guide. And I know, Alex, this one has been, we chatted off camera briefly about this and how that there are high levels of entertainment. We agree on that.
Yep. There's
some high levels of, it really does get the imaginative juices going.
For sure.
Whereby people can sort of see what was once and then, obviously what the finished product was. Where I guess that you and I have, we've sort of thrashed this out, and where the challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis is, like I started by saying, that HGTV is Hollywood. It's not a pricing guide. The biggest bugbear I think that we face or that we come up against is the perception or the budget expectations perhaps that those TV shows put on or put out, and then as if to their actually gospel.
For sure.
And so what we're going to do is I'm going to play good cop and Alex is going to play bad cop. And I like the creative. I love the being able to sort of see what was and see what is and what they come up with out of that. But certainly, Alex, from your point of view as an operator, as a general contractor, some of the negative effects of guests that you come up against. So just take it away, and we'll chew this over for 10 minutes and see if we can't shed some light on the whole HGTV sort of epidemic.
Sure, yeah. Again, it's we're not knocking it. It is a good resource to show people what's possible, what can be done, kind of how things get done. But you do have to realize it is a TV production. There's a lot you don't see behind the scenes. So they're not showing you what a real renovation actually involves, and it's quite condensed. So
they do show a lot of trends, a lot of late model technology, those sorts of things, which is super helpful, I think.
Exactly. But they've got an hour and a half hour to show you all their content. And, some of their shows have, hours and days of footage that go into that 30 minutes or that half an hour of what you see of that little bit of production. Yeah. So it's a small window in, like I say, what's possible and how a renovation does happen. But you do have to understand that is TV land, and it's not totally based in reality. So when you do approach a renovation from the reality base, you can use that as an example, as a starting point. But you really have to start talking about realities about pricing and things that cost, and a good contractor will talk to those. You'll have that conversation with a good contractor up front before any real decisions have been made. So,
well, let's start off with let's just pick them off one at a time.
Sure.
Maybe what have you seen in the field in the last sort of 60 or 90 days, or recently, where you've had a client that maybe was influenced, or it seemed to be that they were influenced in their thought process about the process. What's the first cab off the rank?
Okay, what I usually see from most people is too much excitement in the beginning, right? People are really excited. They watch their show. They saw a nice kitchen they like, and maybe they want to renovate their kitchen. So they get excited and they call a couple contractors. And then this is where I would say that the separation of the TV show, if that's where you got your information from and you're just starting out and you haven't done any research, this is where the real separation starts. This is when you call somebody, this is where you kind of have to do some of your due diligence and make sure that the person is a professional and is going to ask you the right questions to set you up for your renovation properly.
So it's almost a tempering process between, get all the creative, get the inspiration, look at the latest technologies, look at some of the trends, but then know when you go back into the real world, there's a whole bunch of stuff that you actually don't see on the TV program, which is a lot of that background, the planning and the putting together of a project.
Exactly. Yeah. There's Home renovation, I do believe I read an article about it, is one of the most stressful things that you can go to in your house. You're letting strangers into your home, and you're disrupting your natural habits because you're going to lose your kitchen, your bathroom. It's a stressful process no matter what. You can make it a positive stressful experience with well planning, and past podcasts. All I talk about is having a good plan to start with. And then after that, when you've got a good plan, you got the right information, you can start taking small steps to getting the information for your decisions. And you got to figure out, one of the biggest contentions we come across off the heels of that is the fact that people can get a lot more for their money. What can they get for their money? That's really what people are mostly calling us and confused about, for the people who kind of are starting with no experience and just had an idea.
So is there a contradiction between what you know to be real life project costing versus the apparent cost of some of these HGTV show budgets?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know what their budgets are and stuff like that, but I do have clients it is unreasonable, some of the numbers that they are giving. But on the other hand, I have also had some clients who, actually a lot of clients who have come that route, watch a TV show, do a little bit of their due diligence, and then, like I say, one of my initial questions is budget expectations. What do they want to spend on a project like this? Because they might have watched a TV show and witnessed a $350,000 home reno in 1 hour, and I don't know if they even tell you pricing or they show you the breakdown of pricing, and I'm not sure whatever idea you have of that cost. If you haven't done the research on the costs, or if you haven't talked to a established professional in that industry. Because a lot of contractors will just tell you a number to make you happy, and they won't give you the real number because you're most likely not going to want to hear the real number.
Have you ever been in a position where you've presented maybe a preliminary proposal and a client has made reference to a TV show? In other words, your estimate for, a bracketed price range for that project was XYZ, and they're like, well, I saw a TV show. And
numerous. I've actually had people get very upset at me, because what you're doing is you're smashing their dream, right? If they went and watched a TV show, because
their expectation was 60 grand and you've just come back at 150.
Exactly. But that's
so how do you then, for our homeowner viewers or listeners, why is there such a great sort of disconnect between the perception on these TV shows versus then what you give them, in real life? How is there such a deficit or a difference between those two prices created?
My personal belief is that, the TV shows need to keep people entertained, right? If they're going to show you...
So entertainment's a priority.
Exactly.
Accuracy, not so much.
Not so much, because, if you're going to see really what something takes, you might be discouraged to do it. And that's when you get a contractor involved. That's the contractor's responsibility. When we show up and we talk to you, and if I'm going to be talking to you initially in my business, I really try to find out if your expectations are realistic and they can be and they're affordable and they're feasible. Because there's a lot of people who want to cut corners and say, oh, can we just do this and can we just do that? In today's world, and again, being a licensed contractor that's operating legitimately within your city and your area, you have to follow all the rules. You can't cut corners. You can't the day the cowboy contractor is gone. And I find a lot of people who they don't understand the severity of that, and that's the part of meeting a client, is to actually show them what it truly costs. And now sometimes the problem is the client, no matter what, they won't believe you. They might have had a bad experience with a contractor in the past. They're not in the industry. They don't understand why you're so much more than what they expect. But again, they don't understand all the management fees, all the markups and the high overhead construction company comes operate with. But that's not your responsibility to know that. The contractor should just be letting you know that in the initial process. And this is what it takes to get a proper project planned and executed and delivered.
Okay, so what else aren't the TV shows showing us? What are some of why is there such a discrepancy furthermore? What is that about?
I would say they would probably, I would like to see them, or people do a little more pre-due diligence. Because
it would help if, let's say, Mike Holmes or any of those guys, They do lists. I've seen Homes on Homes.
Yeah.
And they have given a breakdown of the costs.
Yeah.
But I'm sure there was a piece down the bottom that said that didn't include the labor.
Yeah.
Whether that was because they just choose not to show that or disclose that, or whether or not it's a network finance component of the TV show.
Okay.
I mean, we don't know. We're just speculating like any other viewer. But we just know that there's such a disconnect between what we price on a daily basis as opposed to what people come in as their expectation.
Yeah,
off the back of that.
For sure, yeah. And then kind of going back to that question of like, there's just a lot of misinformation out there. And a lot of people who don't know and mean well. That's why I like to say I'd like to see a little more due diligence. I've had customers ask me really important questions. They want to see my insurance. They want to talk to my references. They want to see past jobs. They go around to the trade stores and talk to people that I've, and ask around. We're not a very big town here, or a city here. We're not super big. So we're known. And even if you were in a big town, you should have nothing to hide to your clients. You should be able to say, hey, listen, go talk to these people, go out to the stores, go call my references. If you're doing things properly and customers are happy on the heels of your job, you won't have a problem showing your past, experience and your past success with clients to other people, because they're your best. They're gonna promote you the best. So like say, going back to being clients, you just have to be really well prepared. You have to do a little bit of it. You can say how much, you Google into your computer, how much does a kitchen renovation cost? And you will get way better advice from a few articles than you would calling some truck and ladder contractor. You can call some big names in your town, even if you're afraid of the high cost and they might not be affordable, but at least these people will talk to you for free if your requirements are with what they operate in.
Okay, so let's go down that path then, because we're obviously talking about some of the misconceptions or the unrealistic expectations that come with these TV shows.
Yeah.
What would be a way that a homeowner, if you were to rattle off a 3 to 5 point checklist of things that homeowners could do if they're going to approach, and then what I want to do is, so we'll get those 3 to 5 things out of you, and then we'll just talk about maybe what the homeowner could think about as far as the average cost for certain aspects of the project. I don't know if we can investigate that at the same time. But if you're a homeowner, what would you be inclined to sort of source out or seek out the most to help you in your decision-making process?
Yeah. Well, first of all, I would start by doing, what do I want to do? What's my scope? And what can I afford? And that's kind of really the questions you want to start with, because those are the questions that we're kind of looking to get answered.
But then even if they said, well, I can afford $100,000.
Yeah.
How do I know what that gets me? I'm a homeowner. I'm like, I don't know. I got 100 Gs. Now what do I do?
Exactly.
Like, does that get me a bedroom or does that get me an addition? Or is like, see, this is the challenge. This is why when I guess homeowners go to TV shows, they're looking for some context.
Yes.
So how is it? The marketplace, there is nobody providing context. You can go and Google all kinds of stuff on the internet, but how accurate, how reliable, is that stuff? Is it, obviously Canadian, US dollars, all that sort of differentiation. So this is the thing. It's like, I know what you're saying is like, I need to figure out what I can afford, but why would I even entertain a meeting with a GC if 100 grand's not going to get me what I think I'm going to get? So I'd love to know, we got to come up with some way in this podcast. And I think we're going to talk about some indicative pricings.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the indicative, because I want to button this up. I think this is a great way to just sort of, finish up this podcast for homeowners. Now that we've talked about the over optimistic sort of budget expectations that you can get from those TV shows, let's quickly talk about, now I don't need to know square foot prices, but let's talk about the average bathroom, the average kitchen, like the average basement development, let's say, the average addition, something along those lines, to give some context. So if I do have 100 grand to spend, what do I actually get from a real-time GC?
Sure.
So let's start with bathrooms and work our way up.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, we can start at bathrooms for sure. That's pretty easy. Your standard, most, general homes will have like a standard 5x8 3-piece bathroom into that. And those now with costs and where we are in the world, in our area.
Because pricing has jumped with COVID.
Exactly.
No arguments about that.
Exactly. So again, these are ballpark items, but usually we use a standard of a full gut model, right? Like where if you're
sure.
going to fully
Back to
remodel that
studs.
bathroom, because our process is we try to get, we'll get you everything you want, put it together, and then off the heels of that, that's how we figure out what things are going to cost, and then we make it fit your budget. So with bathrooms, if you were to gut your, you know, your small little 3-piece bathroom and it was a, you know, a standard side bathroom, I'd probably say, you know, we with today's volatility and pricing in the market, we're probably starting roughly around the $20,000 mark for a full gut, and that's new bathroom, new shower, new tub, new shower, new toilet, new tile walls, new flooring, new vanity.
Up to date, contemporary as looks beautiful.
Exactly. Yeah. You can get your quartz countertops if you stay modest and there's not a lot of, you know, under repairs. If you got an older home, you might have to upgrade the electrical and the plumbing components. And that's another, you know, that's a whole nother subject on vintage of homes and what
understand
the requirements
too, if you're in our audience and you're listening or you're watching this, you know, it's everything that we do is case by case.
Yeah.
There is a no square foot rate that works, you know, that's reliable, right?
Yeah.
It's just simply budget indications. That's all we can do.
Yeah.
Because your bathroom might be a $12,000 bathroom, but it could be a $30,000 because your taste is going to be different to the next person.
Yeah.
So but I like the 20,000 because it's like middle of the road. It's like, okay, that's a realistic number.
Yeah. And most people, when they're doing a renovation, the area of their home that they're renovating is at the end of the life cycle of that kitchen or bathroom. So it's rare nowadays with how old houses are that people are just renovating parts. Yeah, we're almost a time in where we are, where almost every renovation has to be a full scope because codes and you're not going to you're going to put brand new parts over old, you know, systems.
I mean, I don't know how many calls we've got in the last 2 weeks about, hey, I want to do my bathroom up, and by the way, my shower, my shower it's a tiled shower and it's leaking into the basement. Like 3 of those in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And there's no Band-Aid for that.
There's no Band-Aid.
Back to studs.
Exactly. So that's why we say starting at 20 because there might be some structural damage we need to fix.
And that's not fiction. I mean, I know there's 3 or 4 jobs right now that I know that are between 17 and 30.
Yeah. And if you like, you can get the prices lower, you know, obviously your scope and your selections can be less, but if you're it's a good catalyst or a good benchmark to start from is if I'm going to fully gut my bathroom, the smallest size of bathroom that has a tub, a shower, and a toilet and a sink in it will probably start you rough around 20.
All right, so let's then go to the next part. Obviously, master suites, you know, like, so, you know, your ensuite bathroom, which is a kind of, can you just quickly, I mean, we've just talked about bathrooms, so what would be the number for a master or an ensuite?
Yeah, so again,
because that almost comes with walk-in robes too, don't it?
Yeah,
like
well, if you're adding a bathroom or a room that wasn't existing in a room, and you're adding the mechanical and the plumbing, sometimes it's not feasible. You have to do some research, but usually adding a bathroom where a bathroom did not exist usually starts at around 40 to 50,000 because all the plumbing and the components. And that's like that's if nothing existed.
So you're creating a wet area that was not there. Now, what if it was just to renovate an ensuite? It's the same sort of money as the bathroom we just talked about.
Yeah.
So bathroom and ensuite renovations are kind of start at 20 thereabouts.
Yeah.
But if you're going to create a new wet area like an ensuite to an area that might have been a bedroom or just a vacant area, we're talking 40 to 50.
Yeah. Well,
because you're moving in all of those utilities.
Exactly. And that's probably on the higher end of it. But yeah, if it can get very complex and expensive because you have to find plumbing, all that stuff is quite complex. So I usually don't really, when somebody wants to add a master bed and a bathroom, I kind of will package that into like a whole floor area reno, which falls into a different price category, which we fall into.
Yeah.
But one that's more definable is kitchens. Like kitchens is a very definable.
So let's go, because you're going to talk kitchens and living, aren't you? Like,
exactly. And then when you've got like I say, you've got your head wrapped around kitchens and bathrooms, you can kind of understand what a room reno and what a bathroom, like adding a bathroom reno there. So a kitchen right nowadays, if you're going to do a full gut kitchen reno where you're going to pull out the cabinets, redo your backsplash, maybe change your lighting, you're going to have to upgrade your plumbing, you're going to have to upgrade your electrical if your home is probably more than 20 years old. Right now, those things are probably starting at around $45,000-$50,000.
Now, obviously, just to help our viewers and give a little bit more context as well, is that we, as Smith & Sons, all of our general contractors, mandated to provide fixed price quotes and fixed price building contracts. So in the estimation process, in the initial meeting process, we are always going to err on the side of a little bit more, conservatism.
Yeah.
We're going to be a little bit more conservative and come up with numbers that perhaps are a little bit beyond, what the expectation might be, so that when we then finally work out where we're at and we can drill down and we go to that fixed price, it's better for us to come under that big number than give you a smaller number to tickle your ears up front and then come back to you and say, well, it was 25, but now it's at 40. And then everybody passes out and gets angry.
For sure. Yeah. And that's a great point you touched on there. And that is something that I will touch on to say, watch out for is the lowball offer, that the price that's too good to be true. That's probably going to be one of the most important pieces of advice that I'll give is that, if it sounds too good to be true and some guy's promising you the world, I'm not going to say it's not possible, but do your due diligence.
It's a red flag. Let's just call that. Just be aware.
Yeah. So we have a process where you're right. We kind of, I think the terminology is we're a little bit liberal when we start the process, and then we get conservative to come to your number because we don't know what your budget. We have a rough idea. Like we can use your $100,000 example. If somebody want to do a main floor rental with $100,000, I could roughly tell them what they could fit into that. Now, if they want some really fancy fixtures, their scope is going to get changed, but they still might be able to get some parts of their rental.
Yeah. So this is where we're going to talk about fixed prices and versus cost plus. And I think what we'll do is we'll just deal with the cost plus, but then we'll drill down on the fixed price right from the initial meeting through the bracketed price range estimate into the fixed price, because then we'll talk about selection sheets. So but then people can really understand that process, and we'll do that. We'll probably do that in a separate podcast. But I think just getting back to giving some broad understanding of, perhaps why that, following HGTV's, line the whole way through is just a little bit unreliable. Great entertainment, but not really a great resource.
Exactly.
All right, folks. Well, look, my name's Max. I'm being here with Alex, general contractor for Smith & Sons. And look, if you like what you've seen and heard, feel free to share, follow, subscribe, all that sort of good stuff. Look, if you've got any questions, feel free to email me directly at max@smithandsons.ca, and I'd be happy to respond to you in any way that I can and would look forward to help. So all the best with your renovation. Talk soon.